There's turmoil in Bangladesh. Muhammad Yunus, the Chief Advisor of the Interim Government in Bangladesh, wants to push through with something that does not have the consent of all parties or of all the setups in Bangladesh, including the military. What does Muhammad Yunus want to do? Well, he wants to establish a Rohingya corridor. Who's opposing it? For starters, the military, the army. There are other political parties also that don't seem to have full consent on this, or they're not fully on board with this plan. But Muhammad Yunus is doing it. His critics say he's under pressure from foreign powers to do it, and those who are opposing this corridor in Bangladesh say that it could have implications for the sovereignty of Bangladesh, which is why they are opposing it. In fact, the army chief, General Waqaruzzaman, has clearly said that this is not something that the Yunus government should take a call on. It should be left to a politically elected government. Remember, the Yunus government is only a temporary government. It is not even a permanently elected, democratically elected government. It was only there to facilitate elections. It has been dilly-dallying on elections. The accusations against Muhammad Yunus are that he wants to cling on to power somehow, that he's using the support of Islamic radicals who are using the students' movement as a front to stay on, to hang on, cling on to power instead of facilitating elections and ensuring that a democratically elected political party comes to power. But in spite of all this, Bangladesh is in turmoil, and this is because, remember, now the foreign secretary has also been removed in Bangladesh. The foreign secretary of Bangladesh is someone who was working, he's a career diplomat, and the sources tell us that this is also because of Muhammad Yunus's insistence on this humanitarian corridor, for which he seems to be under pressure to execute by external forces. And these external forces is something that perhaps the foreign secretary also was not agreeing with as far as this corridor is concerned, and therefore the foreign secretary has been removed and someone else has been put in his place. But also there were other issues. For example, Muhammad Yunus wants to build a pro-Pakistan Bangladesh. He wants stronger ties with Pakistan. The foreign secretary of Bangladesh, however, in talks with his counterpart, the foreign secretary of Pakistan, Amana Baloch, did bring up the issue of dues from 1971. Now, Bangladesh has dues, something that Pakistan hasn't paid. But this has also apparently upset the Yunus government because they don't want to discuss these issues with Pakistan. Even Bangladesh's dues are okay. Yunus wants to build a closer link with Pakistan, and he's under pressure to do several things. For example, also this corridor, and these insisting of him to build this corridor has led him to a collision course with not just the army, not just the military, but also within the political setup in Bangladesh. There are others who oppose this, but Yunus seems determined. He must be under some sort of pressure, is what critics say. And the critics also say that he should hold elections. Let an elected government take a call. It's not for a temporary government that was there installed just to facilitate elections to decide on issues like this. And therefore, Yunus seems under pressure. He's even said he's mulling resignation if he can't implement his agenda. Well, his agenda was to hold elections, not to think about corridors and not to think about development and not to think about all of these issues which are best left to a politically elected government. But Yunus seems adamant on actually pushing through projects like these, which his critics say he must be under foreign pressure. And the critics and the opponents of these projects, also, like the corridor, also say that these have implications on Bangladesh's sovereignty. So obviously Yunus under a lot of pressure, and that's why he says he's mulling resigning. Many see it within Bangladesh as an effort to gain some sort of sympathy, and also to try and bring the army chief around. The army chief has been firm, saying that these are decisions best left to a political government, and obviously also set a deadline of December for elections, which Muhammad Yunus is dilly-dallying on. He wants to postpone it. He wants to cling on to power as much as possible, is what his critics say. So obviously these developments are taking place in Bangladesh, and the critical indicator of turmoil is now the foreign secretary leaving his position after disagreeing with Muhammad Yunus and his interim government on the issue that that we talked about, this corridor, and also perhaps all these issues like raising the issue of dues with Pakistan. Yunus clearly seems to have no issue with all these issues. He wants perhaps to push through this, as his critics say, perhaps under pressure. But this has created a sort of turmoil in Bangladesh, which now is there out in the open. For more such videos where we go beyond the headlines and give you the context in which these news developments are taking place, stay tuned to NDTV's YouTube platform. For all the news and updates, stay tuned to NDTV. Thank you so much for watching.